And welcome to Oxford, Mississippi. A little SEC hoops. Ole Miss trying to get back to their winning ways. They've lost 2 in a row, 3 of their last 4 against the Crimson Tide, the red-hot Alabama Crimson Tide. They have won 4 in a row, 5-2 in league play, playing some great basketball. Dave Neal alongside former Auburn star Damian Fishback, and we're going to focus tonight on a couple of guys on the perimeter that can do a lot of things and help their teams win.
Yeah, and particularly shoot. Terrence Davis, only 22% in conference play, but went 5 of 8 behind the three-point line. One of the fastest players in the Southeastern Conference. He needs to use his speed as well tonight. John Petty seems that he's perfect from behind the three-point line. 8 threes and then 10 threes this year. He is going to be trouble for opponents. You have to find him early in both transition and in the half court.
There is Terrence Davis, of course, against Arkansas, finished with 30 points. 5 of his 10 made field goals from behind the arc. On the flip side, there's John Petty, and he's coming off a game where he only had 9 points, did knock home a couple of three-pointers, but certainly if he gets it going, watch out. Now, the big news of the day, Colin Sexton, who is considered a top 10 NBA pick at the end of this year, is available to play. He has missed the last 2 games because of an abdominal injury, but he has been cleared to give it a run. We'll find out how much he will go. Avery Johnson told us earlier today that he will be on a minute watch, but he will be on the floor at some point here tonight at the Pavilion, and we are underway.
The way Colin Sexton was bobbing his head, I think he's ready to play tonight.
I think he was too. He looked like he was ready at shoot around today. Little floater in the lane. That's off the mark. Davis will chase it down. He'll get another shot, and they'll reset.
Was at practice yesterday. Terrence Davis had a confident stroke from behind the three-point line. A very competitive practice. Coach Andy Kennedy was extremely intense, challenging his guys for about 2 hours yesterday.
Burnett. DeAndre Burnett, averaging 14 points a game, knocks home his 35th 3 of the year.
Well, you know, they are actually 3-0 here in SEC play. You see the starting lineup for Bama. And right now getting off to a quick Ole Miss Rebel start.
And Burnett leading the charge with all of Ole Miss's points.
You know, Dave, Ole Miss will mix up their defenses. They'll play some 1-3-1, some 3-2, 2-3 zone. This will be interesting for a young Alabama team. 348th youngest team out of 351 Division I schools.
Herbert Jones, who gets the start tonight, goes to the basket, the freshman out of Greensboro, Alabama. You look at the Ole Miss starting 5.
Got him. John Petty. The other parts of his game's underrated. Nice dish to Dazon Ingram. His ability to defend and pass the ball is something that most people don't appreciate.
5-4 game. Ole Miss and Alabama meeting for the 178th time. Bama has dominated the series, 120-57 over the years. But here in this building, though, Ole Miss has won 6 in a row over the Crimson Tide. Here's Hyman underneath.
First time the students have been back for the Pavilion since December the 2nd. And it looks like the players for the Rebels feeling their energy right now.
They have a 6-week break here at Ole Miss over the Christmas holiday, Christmas winter break. And here's a little run out. Tyree will back it out. Burnett in traffic. Now to Hyman off the backboard.
Not sure if he called that one or not, but we'll give him credit. Hyman doing a nice job in transition and gathering and taking it off the glass. This is the pace that Ole Miss really likes. They want to get the score in the high 70s, even the 80s.
Giddens. They'll swing it around. And a 3-second violation against Giddens.
Alabama's sped up right now. Talk about the youth of this basketball team. Hostile environment. This is a job right there. Hyman doing a nice job of catching and gathering. The Ole Miss Rebels playing the game inside out, though, and then you see Hyman again with a nice finish at the rim.
Cross-court pass. Davis knocks it home. And Ole Miss is rolling early. They lead it by 8. Timeout, Alabama.
Oh yeah, students are back. The pavilion is jumping tonight, and here's why. Ole Miss is playing the game from inside out. Bruce Stevens has been playing outstanding basketball, 19 points a game over his last 3 games, and so he actually gathers a crowd, and Terrence Davis, as we talked about at the outset, gaining confidence from behind that three-point line.
Andy Kennedy now in his 12th year at the helm of this Ole Miss program. 2-time SEC Coach of the Year. Played 1 year at NC State for Jim Valvano, then transferred to UAB where he played with Gene Bartow. You want to talk about getting some great experience and learning the game from 2 of the best that ever coached college basketball.
Well, he is the dean of the SEC, but also one of the more underrated coaches, not only in this conference, but across the country. A couple of 1-2 possession losses last week on the road. This could be a much different season if it weren't for a few possessions for the Rebels.
Braxton Key, they'll swing it around. Ingram out of the corner.
Beautiful.
Boy, that was awesome offense. Herbert Jones puts it through from the far corner. 12-7 game.
Nice job. Coach Avery Johnson talked about it at the shoot-around. They want to attack the 1-3 zone of the Ole Miss Rebels.
Hyman. He can't get it to go.
Didn't understand that one. Hyman at point-blank range should have taken it to the basket and dunked just like he did last time. I like the timeout, though, by Coach Avery Johnson. It seems like he settled the Crimson Tide down now.
Here's Herbert Jones. Bounce pass to Giddens. Some contact, no whistle. Ole Miss back the other way. Davis, finger roll, just enough English to get it through the cylinder.
That looks like the Terrence Davis of old. Before we talked about him as the most improved player in the Southeastern Conference, that's what he was known for, the ability to go coast to coast.
Ole Miss has hit 6 of their last 7 shots. Petty, too strong, loose ball, taken by Ole Miss. And Mark Canvas Hyman, averaging almost 6 rebounds a game.
Well, if you're Alabama right now, you made your name on your defensive late, your bread and butter. This is where you have to change the parameter of this basketball game by getting stops on this end.
Davis, missed badly. Alabama back the other way in a hurry. Dazon Ingram, the key. Braxton coming off a really, maybe his best game since he returned from injury. 16 points in a win against Mississippi State with 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. He's double teamed. Petty. Shot clock at 7. Giddens will take the 15-footer and knock it home.
Lesson to be learned by young people. You never leave the basketball. DeAndre Burnett just left the basketball and understood he left it for John Petty, but you just can't leave the basketball that close to the rim at point-blank range.
In traffic, Davis is fouled. He'll have some free throws when we come back. But Ole Miss playing well offensively.
Yeah, Terrence Davis with a ferocious mindset and has Ole Miss up by 5.
The Ole Miss students enjoying the start to this one. Ole Miss out in front 14-9. Both teams shooting it really well, over 50% to get us started here at the Pavilion. Dave Neal back alongside my partner Damian Fishback. And, well, Fish, this is an Alabama team I think that has maybe surprised some folks. When you look at the SEC standings right now, they are just a game out of first place behind the Florida Gators, and Auburn a half a game behind second place, the Tigers.
Well, what's most impressive about it is the fact that they've done a lot of it without Colin Sexton.
Right.
We know one of the best players, especially freshmen amongst the country. And when you look at 44 combined misses, whether it be illnesses, injuries, what have you, the fact that they've been able to go to LSU and knock off an Auburn team that was one of the hottest teams in the country, still one of the hottest teams in the country, has been impressive by Coach Avery Johnson.
Well, you look at the SEC standings. There's Florida at 6-1 and Alabama hanging there at 5-2. Now, both Florida and Auburn will play tomorrow night. So if things work out for Alabama, they may be tied for first if they can win here, and they'll have those other clubs lose. That'd be something.
Yeah, I would compare this SEC race to a big long road trip when you've knocked out a couple of hours and you still got multiple hours left to go. 13 games left in this conference schedule. You include the SEC Big 12 Challenge with that. A long way to go, but a tremendous start by the Crimson Tide.
Players are like the kids in the back seat going, when are we going to get there? And Avery Johnson's got to tell them, we'll get there when we get there.
Get there when we get there. That's right.
There is Coach Johnson, who has, not only recruited well, but just being around him, watching him coach up his guys, practice, as we have all season at Alabama, almost half a dozen times already. And the way he works with these kids is just it's really amazing to watch how in tune they are to what he has to say.
Now, what he talked about earlier was the appreciation of the fan base, the students, the culture, the support that he's seen, in particularly at Coleman Coliseum. It's made a difference to this young basketball team.
Dante Hall just checks in. He misses. Romanopoulos checks in for Ole Miss. Also checking in is Olenichek. Dominic, the redshirt sophomore, transferred in from Drake. Sets a screen for Burnett, who goes to the basket. It's going to be tough sledding inside against the likes of Galen Smith and Dante Hall. But here comes Colin Sexton. Missed a couple of games with an abdominal strain, and he is back on the floor tonight. Second in the conference in scoring at 19 points a game. Leads the team, this Alabama team, in points and assists.
And if you have yet to see Colin Sexton, don't know what percentage he is at, but you are certainly in for a treat. Young man changes the scouting report immediately. We'll keep an eye and see how he moves.
Good tap to the basket by Tyree.
Tyree having an outstanding basketball season, 16 points and 5 assists in Arkansas with 0 turnovers.
Avery Johnson Jr. inside. Galen Smith travels with it. It'll belong to Ole Miss.
Well, here's just a nice job of penetrating and going to the rim. You don't see that a lot against this Alabama team, and that's why I want to see the response of Alabama early. We mentioned it earlier, a very young basketball team without having a guy like Riley Norris, the lone senior that was on this basketball team that's out for the duration of the season with a hip injury. Let's see how they respond now, being down 9 points on the road.
Olenichek can't get it to go down, and then a foul as well against Olenichek. That'll be his first.
You know, as we look at the upcoming matchups against the SEC and Big 12, it's interesting, different styles. This Alabama team is actually intriguing to me because they can play multiple styles. They can slow it down and throw it to a guy like Gibbons and Hall in the half court, or they can get up and down and use their speed.
Smith gets it back to Sexton. One thing Colin Sexton can do, and that is get to the free throw line. Second in the conference in attempts and makes. Jones, double team, shot clock at 2. And he's going to take a timeout.
Sure. Well, young right now. This is a very young team. As we mentioned, third or fourth youngest team in the nation. And so he's actually just trying to salvage the possession. But this crowd, the students are back. They're amped up. They're ready to go. And it's a hostile environment with the team in Ole Miss that actually, as we mentioned, Breon Tyree has a shot go all the way down and come back out on the road at Texas A&M. In a game where Texas A&M knew it was a must-win, this is a much better Ole Miss team than most people think.
Ole Miss 10-9, 3-4 in league play, but 9-3 here at home. Ole Miss has had some tough losses here at home too. 3 have been in overtime.
Sure.
How about 3 home losses in overtime? I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
Well, you think about the Illinois State game in overtime. That was a tough one. South Dakota State, another overtime. And how about Virginia Tech? Of course, Buzz Williams doing an outstanding job. They were able to knock off North Carolina. And then even in the SEC, you had multiple tough games. Basically all of those games, 2-possession games. The quality and depth of the league, very difficult, but I'm anxious to see which team starts to separate themselves. Florida and Auburn have done that thus far in the early part of the schedule along with Alabama.
Andy Kennedy's got to get his team to defend a little better than they did at Arkansas, where they allowed the Hogs to shoot 54%, 50% from behind the arc. They also fouled a bunch in that game and allowed Arkansas to hit 28 free throws. 28 free throws, and Ole Miss lost that one 97-93. But feels like this is a team, as he talked to us about, that certainly is capable. And they have just been a step away, a shot here or there, a rebound here or there. And this could be a different story for the Rebels, who sit 1 game above 500 right now.
Well, what the strength of the Rebels team is their guard play. And so what a game for Colin Sexton to come back in against a senior in DeAndre Burnett, a guy that's just a few points from being a 1,000-point scorer. A guy like Terrence Davis, one of the more athletic guys that you will see, aggressive players. And Brian Tyree, we know his cousin, actually won the Super Bowl. I mean, this is an athletic team, and we hadn't even mentioned Marco Crawford, the transfer from Memphis.
So Ole Miss up 9 with 11:46 to go first half. 2 on the shot clock for Alabama. And welcome to the pavilion, where Dante Hall just throws one down as Alabama had 2 seconds with the shot clock, and now Dante Hall gets a delay of game warning for touching the basketball. But Dave Neal, alongside former Auburn star Damian Fishback, glad you could join us for Alabama, who is 13-6, 5-2 in league play, a game out of first place. They've won 4 in a row. They've beaten South Carolina, LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State. Meanwhile, Ole Miss at 10-9, 3-4. They've lost 2 in a row. Both those are road games, but they are back here in the friendly confines of the pavilion, where the students are here for the first time since early December.
Looks like we planned that, right? We welcomed the audience in with a nice dunk from Dante Hall. Like this change of defense by the Alabama Crimson Tide, too.
Ole Miss has been shooting lights out since we started this game. Colin Sexton, as you watch him with the basketball, did not start. He's been out for 2 games with an abdominal issue, but he is getting some minutes here. He has played about 3 minutes so far. Second leading scorer in the conference, leads the team in assists as well, averaging almost 4 rebounds a game, and a player that many think will be a top 10 pick in this summer's NBA draft, back on the floor for the Tide. Woo! Boy, Galen Smith blocks it, sets up Sexton the other way, and that one's blocked by Tyree. Sexton stays with it. Dante Hall's tap-in work.
Love that. That's winning plays, and particularly on the road, right? The crowd gets into it. You got blocks, but the finish by Dante Hall. You have to be relentless to win basketball games on the road.
Off the front of the iron, Dazon Ingram way out ahead to Avery Johnson Jr. He gets it to go down, and a nice run for this Alabama team. They were down 9, they've cut it to 3.
Like the timeout called by Coach Andy Kennedy. Basketball is always the game of runs, but Coach Avery Johnson changed up the tempo with the pressure. Here you see Colin Sexton actually gets it blocked, but relentless on the offensive glass is Smith. Or Dante Hall, I'm sorry. Alabama is actually 9-0 when they win the rebounding war. I think that's something that they can continue to improve upon, not just in this basketball game, but for the duration of the season.
Man, it's kind of surprising Alabama's 12th in the conference in rebound margin when you look at some of the size they bring to the court each and every night.
Well, it's just a matter of habit, right? see their rival in Auburn. Auburn rebounds even though they're undersized because that's their habit. They go to the glass every time. This Alabama team, with the length and athleticism of Dante Hall, even Alex Reese that comes off the bench, Giddens, Herbert Jones, they could be tenacious on the glass. They just have to make a decision to do it in a cohesive unit.
Ole Miss started 6 of 7. Since then, they have gone 1 of 7. And that's allowed Alabama to go on a 6-0 run over the last 2.5 minutes or so. Nice dump down pass. Hyman can't convert though.
Got to use the glass on that play if you're Hyman. The entire complexion and tempo of this game has changed.
There is Colin Sexton, a 36% shooter from behind the arc, knocks that one home. And we're tied at 18.
I love this 2-2-1 pressure by Alabama. They showed the press against Vanderbilt, almost was able to come back and win that game on the road. They have the speed, the length, and athleticism to be a pressing team. And this is the first time I've seen a lot of it this early in the basketball game.
That one's too strong for Bruce Stevens. Here's Sexton. Pull up for 3 again, off the back of the iron. Burnett the rebound. Letting them play here at the Pavilion. Burnett, he's bumped. With Colin Sexton averaging 19 points a game, knocks home his first 3 in over a week.
As a player, when you've been out, it's always good to see it go through the net. Gives you the confidence, allows you to feel like you're back in rhythm and back into the routine. And you can tell he's excited to be back. But I'm telling you, Dave, the difference in this game thus far has been that 2-2-1 press. It has changed the complexion of this basketball game. Ole Miss is no longer allowed to feel comfortable and free-flowing and just coming down and scoring with the prolific guard play that they have.
In and out for Davis. Here's Reese, off to Johnson. Braxton Key, off to Reese. Good bounce pass to Sexton. Got a little too close to the rim, did Sexton, but Key's there to steal it away. Wide open. Sexton decides to take it inside, and they'll say the foul is on the floor. Hey, tomorrow night, starting at 7 Eastern, we'll have a college hoops doubleheader. It's a good one. South Carolina squaring off against number 20 Florida. Then it's 19th ranked Auburn taking on Missouri from Como. That's tomorrow right here on the SEC Network. And of course, you can always catch those streaming live on the ESPN app.
Big time matchups there. South Carolina Gamecocks with Chris Silva leading the league in offensive rebounds against a Florida team who's playing as good as anybody. And then Auburn, Missouri, I think 2 of the more gritty teams in the league, along with South Carolina, going against one another.
So Dante Hall will step to the free throw line. Dante, you see on his right hand, has that soft cast. How about him? Had surgery on that wrist hand area, and 5 days later was back on the floor. It's affected him a little bit in terms of handling the basketball, making some catches, going up strong with it. Normally, you know, he's a guy that throws it down. He shoots 73% from the floor.
Well, he is one of the players that's a testament to the development of Coach Avery Johnson. The type of player he was when he stepped on campus versus now as a junior, as night and day. He's much more confident with his stroke, both at the free throw line and away from the basket, and more efficient when he gets the basketball in the paint area as well.
They'll dump it down to Dante Hall. That one looked like it bounced off Kermanofish's head. Ole Miss, no field goal since the 12:56 mark. They've missed 7 straight and allowed Alabama to take a 1-point lead. Back in a moment.
One single day, 2 power conferences, 10 games with new stars, familiar legends and epic matchups, all for bragging rights. The Big 12 SEC Challenge on ESPN this Saturday.
And boy, is that going to be a lot of fun. This Ole Miss team will take on Texas. Meanwhile, Alabama taking on Oklahoma. You look at some of those matchups, Texas A&M and Kansas, Kentucky and West Virginia. West Virginia got beat by TCU. TCU, a team that'll go play Vanderbilt on Saturday. And boy, a big one, I think, for Georgia, especially after tonight's loss to Arkansas as they take on Kansas State.
Oh, almost a must-win. I mean, you got opportunities in the league, but Georgia now, you're putting yourself in a difficult challenge. But what I like is the mixture of styles, right? The bigs in front line of Texas A&M, Robert Williams, Tyler Davis, versus the plethora of guards. When you look at Malik Newman, Devontae Graham of Kansas, and then Kentucky, West Virginia, the length of Kentucky and the athleticism versus the 94-feet Coach Bob Huggins. Plethora of wins, an outstanding national audience is going to be in for a treat with that challenge.
Avery Johnson off the iron, no good rebound to Tyree. By the way, Oklahoma right now up a pair on Kansas. Half a minute to play in that one. A lot of eyes will be focused on that Oklahoma-Alabama matchup on Saturday. Trae Young against Colin Sexton. Trae Young tonight, 26 points, 8 assists. Leads the country in scoring and assists. And Reese knocks home the three.
Tell you what, Coach Avery Johnson said that he felt like a lot of other teams have peaked or, don't have as high of a ceiling or as much room to peak as they do. And I'm going to tell you, this Alabama team, they're getting better every time they step in between the lines. And for the rest of the Southeastern Conference, that smells trouble.
We talk about Trae Young and what he's doing with the basketball. Certainly he's scoring it, but he's got a long way to go to catch Avery Johnson in terms of assists. As a senior, Coach Johnson averaged 11.5 points per game, but the deal was he averaged 13.3 assists.
Yeah, he's one of the more underrated players, but you look at his career and the depth of his career in the NBA, him being a champion, him having the opportunity to play on the likes of Greg Popovich, and you see why he's been successful so early amongst the collegiate ranks. I mean, he's turned around very quickly.
He had 4 games of 20 or more assists, did Avery Johnson, when he was playing at Southern University.
Yeah.
Think about that.
It's a lot of dimes, Dave, a lot of dimes.
Good help defense from Reese, creates a turnover. Gets all the way to the basket.
You better get back in a hurry because the Tide is on a run right now.
It's a 15-0 run for Alabama. And a reach-in foul on Jones.
Listen, this is why I say Alabama's dangerous, because they can play multiple ways. You've seen them in the half court, and then that time Daniel Giddens just out-sprints Bruce Stevens to the rim. That's what I talk about with big guys. You should have at least one of those a half if you're a big man. Outrun your opponent a few times. The guards are going to catch you and give it to you at least once.
Boy, big collision underneath. They're going to say a blocking foul or charge. Braxton Key stood in there and took the charge from Burnett. Bodies went flying everywhere.
Well, he does a nice job of getting outside of the restricted area. And I agree with Les Jones on the call. I think it is a charge. Burnett tries to go to the side of him. Braxton Key displaying a lot of toughness, getting in there and giving up his body.
Should be on Burnett. I think they're talking about who that foul is on. I think initially they might have given it to the wrong guy, but it should be on Burnett. So Ron Groover, our lead official, will take another look at it. And that'll give us a chance to tell you that gymnastics is taking over the network again, as it does every Friday night. This week, it's 11th ranked Georgia, 10th ranked Arkansas, 7 o'clock Eastern. Then we'll get you out to Auburn. Number 6 Kentucky, number 16 Auburn. Friday Night Heights coming your way on Friday night right here on the SEC Network, also streaming live on the ESPN app.
And if you have not had a chance to check out some of the gymnastics in this conference, LSU had the PMAC sold out, amazing energy, just tremendous and outstanding performances going on all across this country. or all across the conference, as we're seeing tonight in this basketball game. Outstanding run by Ole Miss. Seemed like they were going to run away with this basketball game. Then they went to the 2-2-1 pressure and just stepped it up defensively, and it's been all tied since then.
Alabama with 8 assists on 10 made shots. Here's Herbert Jones.
Nice look.
Petty, corner three is good. John Petty, second in the conference in three-pointers made per game and just shy of 3. Gets that one to hit the bottom of the net. Stevens has it taken away. Well, this Alabama defense has been smothering the last 7 minutes of this game.
Business-like approach. Discipline, tenacity. Who's that remind you of Alabama?
Wouldn't be that football team, would it? Here's Key. And he travels.
Solid defense and response by Terrence Davis that time. And anytime you have stifling defense, it's important to try to get to the paint. You see Herbert Jones right there? Nice move. And while he gets to the paint, look at the other side on the wing right there. Petty, he's moving without the basketball, so he relocates. He didn't stand where he was originally. He moved and got himself open along with the basketball, which made it much more difficult for DeAndre Burnett to cover that ground.
Here's Burnett. Almost 7.5 minutes without a point for this Rebel team. They led it 18-9. Tough shot by Tyree. Ball scramble, loose ball. They're going to say a foul on Herbert Jones, and Avery Johnson doesn't like it, but not much he can do about it. And that'll be number 2 on the freshman.
The challenge that I'm seeing right now for Ole Miss is as the defense becomes tighter, they don't know how to adjust right now offensively. Offensively, the better your defense. When you look at Virginia, Villanova, teams that are in the top 5 of the country, the more difficult the defense is, the more you have to bring the basketball.
Burnett stops the streak. Ole Miss finally with a basket. They went 7:48 without a point. Turnover will give it back to the Rebels.
I like that response. Crawford, veteran on this basketball team. And here's Burnett. Nice screen that time by Crawford. There was no help by Giddens that time on the screen. A handoff in basketball is the exact same as a screen.
Burnett down the lane.
DeAndre Burnett out of Miami Gardens, Florida, stepping up when his team needs him. Leadership, veteran, at home, realizing that there's only a few games left for this senior attacking the basket. He's asking these fans to get behind him here at the Pavilion.
That's a big foul because Dazon Ingram just picked up his 3rd here in the first half. He has not played a lot as Dazon here in the first half.
We know how critical he is. When Dazon Ingram was out of the game, that's when Alabama had so much trouble at Stadium Coliseum playing against the Georgia Bulldogs and lost that game. So we'll see how they operate without Ingram in the game now.
Burnett leads everybody with 11. Off the front of the rim for Petty.
That's where he's got to continue to improve. Off of the bounce, when teams consistently make him put it on the floor, he's going to have to be aggressive, taking it to the rim, or be able to knock down the mid-range game.
Despite that 7 minutes, almost 8 minutes without a point, Ole Miss only down 3, and you can make it down 1.
Nice. Almost 20 points per game in the SEC wins. He's critical for the Rebels.
Oh, Burnett had some half 13 and 5 of 6 from the field. Colin Sexton now. He's going baseline. It's Giddens, free throw jumper off the mark.
Missed Avery Johnson Jr. on that play. Should have reversed it.
Here's Burnett. Tyree. And Ole Miss back down in front. It's 11-0 run by the Rebels. Sexton and Burnett chasing it down, and it'll belong to Ole Miss. Timeout on the floor.
Rebels. Outstanding fan support right now. The fans making a critical difference. And right now, the Ole Miss Rebels relentless, refusing to go away too easy.
Tell you what, you look at Joe Lunardi's. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you here in a few minutes. But Joe Lunardi's bracketology, you see where Auburn is in Florida, both 4 seeds. Georgia on that first 4 out. That was a tough loss today, but this is a different monster in the SEC in 2018.
Sure. Well, I talked about the Georgia team, a team that has 4 top 50 wins. That win at Marquette's looking extremely good. The St. Mary's win looks good as well. But in this conference, you don't know, because of the teams that you could be playing against down the stretch, what the head-to-head matchup looks like. And so it's so important to win every basketball game. But when you look at the past and 5 teams get to the NCAA, or 3 teams or even less, the fact that we're talking about 8 teams is something that the SEC, I think, has to be proud of.
Ole Miss, it's hard to believe this is the same team that almost went 8 minutes without a point, because right now they are feeling it.
Yeah, Markel Crawford, the Memphis transfer, showing a little bit more of what they expected from him in Rebel Nation.
On the floor, a nifty move and shot from Colin Sexton.
Well, let's remember, Markel Crawford actually leads the team in minutes, about 30 minutes per game, getting extremely close to being a 1,000-point scorer, 950 career points, had 761 of those at Memphis. He's a critical piece. Was critical in that Florida win here at home early in league play.
So Alabama went on an 18-0 run. Ole Miss is on a 14-0 run. And that foul, that'll go against Bruce Stevens, and that'll get Alabama to the free throw line, and Key will have a 1-on-1 opportunity.
Braxton Key is the silent assassin on this Alabama team. Not only can he defend multiple positions, but he can play different positions as well to cause problems offensively. Think about the likes of get into the NCAA tournament, trying to advance. His ability to knock down outside jump shots, take guys off of the bounce, I think would be critical for this Crimson Tide team.
Kyrie in a 10-second violation. And
told you about that 2-2-1, Dave. Every time the Tide has a little bit of trouble, they throw that 2-2-1 pressure on them, and the Rebels do not like it.
That's 6 turnovers by Andy Kennedy's club. Always great to talk to AK.
Most of these coaches were great at the shoot around today.
Dante Hall up and under move. How about the big fella at 6'9", 230.
Like a ballerina.
7 for Dante, and hold on the outside.
Come on now. Are big guys supposed to be able to move and control their body like that at 6'9"? That was, now, Sean Kemp would have dunked it.
Yeah.
It was Sean Kemp like the movement.
Listen, I'm going to cut him some slack. He's got the surgically repaired wrist. You see it's off this thing. He might have thrown it down. He's helping.
He wasn't throwing that down. The figure roll looked good, though. I like the figure roll.
How about Dante Hall, though, while we're on him? He's a guy that has put on a bunch of weight, really worked on his body since he got to Alabama. He can actually, his touch is at 12 feet 1 inch. I mean, think about how high that is.
That's high enough where if he's up there, you make sure you don't jump.
Colin Sexton with the basketball. Colin's got a 47-inch vertical. That's right, 47. That's Damian Fishback like.
No, I was in the 30s. High 30s, though, but I was in the 30s.
What about 3? Tyree, no good. The tip by Davis, it went halfway down. Kept alive, and a foul against Alabama, and that'll go against Avery Johnson Jr. A game of runs, to say the least. Ole Miss out in front by 4 with 1:37 to go before halftime.
Well, and on those runs, the first was early in the basketball game, and particularly for the Rebels. They came out on fire. The students back the first time since December the 2nd. They fed off of that energy. And then Alabama went to that 2-2-1 pressure. And Ole Miss had problems with it, and Alabama did a nice job of turning the tide.
8 points for Terrence Davis, averaging 14 a game. Of course, coming off that 30-point performance against Arkansas when he knocked down 5 of 8 from behind the arc.
To be honest, Dave, I thought you were going to give me more than that when I said turning the tide. I feel like I didn't do it justice.
You were doing your game, I was doing my game. As we say in the business, right? Here's Key, nice pass to Smith, and that one is rejected. He'll try it again, he's fouled, and you can count it. Staying with it is Galen Smith. He'll have a chance for the three-point play.
Alabama tonight with 6 offensive rebounds now. That's how you win basketball games. And Smith continuing to fight, scratch, and claw. Now has a chance for the three-point play the old-fashioned way.
Another youngster out of Clinton, Mississippi is Galen Smith. Averaging right around 3 points a game, couple of rebounds. Not good at the line though, just 33%, 6 of 18. Boy, Stevens just took that one right off the rim, and Ole Miss leading by 4. They've lost 2 in a row while Alabama's won 4 straight. Little step back 3 is good from Markel Crawford.
Don't know if I can have or think of anyone better to put in the middle of that 2-2-1 zone. Markel Crawford has enough size to see over defenders and is dangerous enough to go to the rim.
Smith traveled with it.
Interesting adjustment here, Dave. Coach Andy Kennedy's went with the smaller lineup. Markel Crawford playing at the 4 position. And the reason he's done that is because with Braxton Key, he's got size, but he's more of a perimeter player as well. So he's now been able to match the speed and quickness of Braxton Key.
Burnett with 16 in the first half. He has hit 6 of 8, and 3 of those are from behind the arc. And Ole Miss is up 10. It is their largest lead of the game. Colin Sexton, who has played 10 minutes, is just 1 of 7 from the field. He slipped and lost the ball. It'll belong to Alabama with 3.8, but 2 on the shot clock.
And that's a critical call because that's enough time for Alabama, who has been struggling these last few minutes, to get a good look. They have multiple guys who can do that. Braxton Key, Petty, Sexton, and take some momentum into the half.
Off the back of the rim, that won't count. But this guy right here put on a show. DeAndre Burnett, who is averaging 14 points a game, has 16 in the first half. And Ole Miss leads it by 10. They finished the half on a 23-4 run over the last 4:45. Time to get into the studio. Take it away, Dart. Ole Miss out in front by 10. We're just moments away from second half basketball. Dave Neal courtside alongside my partner, one Damian Fishback. And Fish, this has been one of those games where I don't know that I would think a team that went on almost an 8-minute scoring drought would lead by 10. But when you have DeAndre Burnett playing the way he's playing, I guess you can kind of see how that happened.
Yeah, he came into the game 4 points away from reaching 1,000 points. He just took the baseball bat and knocked it out of the park in the first half with a tremendous first half. For our all-state good hands play, DeAndre Burnett really displayed every part of his basketball game, getting out on transition. Here he is moving without the basketball, showing us the trifecta from behind the three-point line. Then a little mid-range game with the fadeaway jump shot into the teeth of the defense. And here he is denying the ball screen with another fadeaway. He's the type of guy when he gets hot, it smells trouble for opponents. And it was trouble for the Tide early in the first half.
Yeah, 7 3-pointers in that first half for Ole Miss. And Alabama shot 43% from the field. And talking to a couple of the coaches coming out of that locker room for Alabama, their concern was they have to be more aggressive. They felt like Ole Miss, especially in the last 7 minutes of that half, really took it to them. And that's not Alabama basketball.
Sure. Well, the 2-2-1 pressure threw the Rebels off a little bit. But then the Rebels truly got comfortable in attacking the rim. If you play the game inside out, no matter what defense it is, it makes it a challenge to stop.
Right away, Alabama goes inside. 41-33. This Alabama team didn't get a whole lot of minutes out of DeAndre Ingram, and he's a guy that certainly brings some of that intensity. He had 3 fouls in that first half. DeAndre with 2 points. We did have 4 rebounds and 3 assists. Stevens, that's off the mark. How about Davis? What a read by Terrence Davis.
One of the best molders in the conference. If you watch his activity, the shot had been falling a lot, but when it goes, that's why he can put up big numbers like 30 points at Arkansas in the last game, because he really never stops.
Giddens. He's fouled on the way to the basket by Stevens. But watch Terrence Davis come flying in here for this second chance back.
Sure. Well, you love guys that can rebound out of the area. DeAndre Ingram that time, I don't know who he's pointing at, but that's his fault. He's got to box out. Now, when the shots go off like that, they're hard to rebound, but you have to put a body on your opponent every time. And that's the youth showing up, 348, youngest team out of 351 division basketball team.
Giddens knocks home the front end. Giddens 51% at the line this year. You look at Terrence Davis, from a freshman to a sophomore year, 1.8 points, 14.9. Davis at 14 points a game here as a junior. He has 11 tonight.
Yeah, 11 20-point games, and actually 3 30-point career games. Only one with 30 points this season for the Rebels.
Alabama trying to trap that basketball. Now Ole Miss will set up their offense. They do so with 15 on the shot clock. Here's Burnett. Wide open is Crawford. That one's off the mark. Boy, what a nice job by Petty to tap that to himself. Here goes Key. Ingram with the assist.
I like that, and it looks like Oladichek may be hurt. Ron Gruber's checking him out. Look at the length by Alabama, the wingspan. I thought he was going to give it back to Petty right there, but instead saw Braxton Key streaming down the street. Alabama is able to throw different defenses. We've seen 2-3 zone. We've seen 2-2-1. That's the type of defenses that they're going to need, not only for the duration of the Southeastern Conference schedule, but in particular in the next upcoming game against Trae Young.
Again, Ole Miss setting up their offense with 15 on the shot clock. They'll get it to Crawford. Back to Burnett. Braxton Key defending him. Nice pass to Davis. Took it into traffic. Oladichek scrambling underneath, and they'll say a tie-up.
Like that battle that time by Oladichek.
He'll stay with Ole Miss, but only 1 on the shot clock.
And the coaching staff over here next to us, they're continuing to point. And I think our officiating crew right now, we've got Ron Gruber and Lee Cassell over on to check the time, and Coach Andy Kennedy gets some more time to talk to his team as well as Coach Avery Johnson.
Hey, Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern, catch the annual Razorback Invitational at the Randall Tyson Center in Fayetteville. It's one of the premier college indoor track and field events that attracts some of the top schools and athletes in the nation. It's right here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app. That's Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern, right here on the network.
Dave, regardless of the timing, unless obviously they looked and there was no time left, this is actually a critical possession. For Alabama, you come out in the first couple of minutes of this half and made an instantaneous run. And so if you're able to salvage this possession, get the basketball back, you can possibly pull, either get the lead or be extremely close before this first TV timeout. For Ole Miss, you want to keep this crowd into the basketball game. And right now, since we've come out to the half, this crowd has had absolutely nothing to yell about.
They're going to keep it at 1. They were checking to see if the ball actually touched the rim. It did not, so 1 second on the shot clock here for Ole Miss. Well, you look at the NCAA tournament and what the SEC has had to battle through. There have been 3 years where they've sent 3 teams. This year, right now, Joe Lunardi has 8 going to the field. The tap from Stevens won't go. A second chance here now for Ole Miss.
This is huge for Ole Miss if they're able to change this momentum with that offensive rebound.
Key with a takeaway, back the other way. Dae'Zon Ingram off to Petty. Good
nice
ball
shot
fake.
fake.
Can't convert. Rebound to Davis. And he kicks it out of bounds. It'll belong to Alabama.
Well, Terrence Davis in between the basketball lines has Jeff Gordon type speed behind the steering wheel in NASCAR. Sometimes, though, he gets too fast for himself, and that time he actually lost the basketball.
Dae'Zon Ingram will set up the offense. Corner 3. That won't go for Petty. He had his hands on it.
See, this is Ole Miss's best offense. They love secondary break when the floor is spreaded. They're able to penetrate, move the basketball, and get some open threes.
Knocked out of bounds. It'll belong to Ole Miss. 11 on the shot clock. Boy, Alabama's defensive intensity has certainly picked up here in the second half.
Well, that's what they've been known for. Second in the league in steals, first in blocks, I believe. And defensively, when they get stops, it allows them to get out and show some of that speed that they have.
Key on the floor, gets it ahead to Ingram. He's ahead of the field. He will throw it now. There's some defense leading to offense.
One of the fastest teams in the conference. Look at the other teams that move as fast as them. Auburn, I think, maybe the fastest team in conference. And right now, that's just a young foul by Herbert Jones.
That's the second time tonight that Avery Johnson has just kind of cringed watching Jones. But he did not cringe on that fast break from Dae'Zon Ingram.
Well, listen, one thing I love about the SEC Big 12 Challenge is that you have games like this. You have a Kansas versus Oklahoma game, TCU versus West Virginia. And so, quite frankly, teams in league play are giving the opponents the blueprint. And right now, I guarantee you, Lon Kruger, Hall of Fame coach, 600-plus wins, is going to be trying to prepare his team for Trae Young in the 2-2-1 pressure of Alabama.
Tyree, catch, shoot, air ball. Ingram up ahead to Petty. That was swatted out of there. Heck of a block from Tyree. Tyree goes 6'2". Petty goes 6'5".
I like this action. You know, that's a guy playing bigger than his size, and there's a little chirping going on between the two of them afterwards.
Reese has 1-3, give him 2 tonight.
When I went around to see the team's practice before the season, he was one of the more impressive strokes. At 6'9", 250 pounds, he has a soft touch from behind the three-point line.
Alabama's cut it to 1. 16:06 to play. Back to the pavilion after this. Land Sharks here inside the pavilion. Ole Miss clinging to a 1-point lead. Special night tonight here inside this magnificent arena. And that guy right there, even though he's kind of hiding his face from us, that's Morgan Freeman. Of course, won an Academy Award in 2005 for Best Supporting Actor in $1 Million Babies. Had a wonderful career and was honored here earlier tonight for a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Screen Actors Guild earlier this week. Think of the movies he's been in: $1 Million Baby, Driving Miss Daisy, Shawshank Redemption. I mean, everything he touches is dynamite.
Well, when you think of some of your greatest actors of all time, you think of Al Pacino, Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington, Julia Roberts. He has to be in that top 5. The other 4, you take your pick, but he's certainly one of the top 5 of all time.
He's 80 years old, but certainly it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. Born in Memphis, Tennessee, a huge Ole Miss fan.
Mr. Narrow, too. How can I leave down Robert Narrow? He's got to be in it, doesn't he?
I know, you can keep going and going and going. You just need to stop. Stevens, foul on the floor, and that is our under-16 media timeout. So, Ole Miss up by 1. Back to Oxford, Mississippi right after this timeout. Ole Miss and Alabama 43-42. Alabama winners of 4 straight. Ole Miss has lost 2 in a row. Something's given here tonight at the Pavilion. Dave Neal alongside Damian Fishback. And Fish, when you start to look at this league, 8 teams right now in the top 40 in the RPI. You look at the schedule, strength of schedule for Tennessee and Alabama, 6 and 7. And really, the league has done a great job the last couple of years of getting their schedules to a point where there's some respectability. Now, there are a couple of schedules you might look at, scratch your head, but for the most part, this league is going out and playing some of the best in the country.
Well, the strength of schedule is what led to some wins. When you talk about Tennessee over Purdue, Kentucky, what they did to Louisville, who's now turned around in the ACC, Florida over Gonzaga, Cincinnati, Texas A&M. We remember how they started the season over West Virginia and Arkansas over Oklahoma, and that's why sometimes I question the amount of teams in the top 25 because of so many of the significant wins. Obviously, the difference between conferences and teams paper thin right now, but those 3 teams off to a tremendous start in conference play.
Ole Miss up 1. Giannakis on the floor for the Rebels. Stevens draws a foul. Avery Johnson wanted to travel. Les Jones says there was a push that kind of forced him to take the steps.
Yeah, Coach Avery Johnson on the sideline over here. He was trying to get Les Jones to give him that walk, but Les Jones kind of looked over at him and said, nope, I saw the foul first.
Both coaches having some discussions with our officiating crew.
You got to go to bat for your team. Both coaches true extreme competitors, both as players and as coaches.
And a blocking foul against Alabama, and that will go against Giddens, and that'll be his 3rd.
We don't have our wire tonight, but I guarantee you if you were going to the huddle of Coach Andy Kennedy, he said something about attacking the rim. We noticed since the first time out that we had, they've thrown the basketball inside to Bruce Stevens, and every Ole Miss Rebel that has received the basketball is now attacking the basket versus where they were settling for jump shots early.
Have not seen Colin Sexton here in the second half. Colin in the first half played 10 minutes, 1 of 8 from the field.
Well, he told us that he would limit his minutes. The abdominal injury similar to a hamstring injury, and the fact that if you bring the player back too soon, give them elongated minutes or rush them back, then it can actually end up setting them back if they retweak it.
And a push on the baseline. That'll go against Terrence Davis. That'll be his 3rd.
And that's why you battle for every call. May not get it on the first call, but they get it when it's back on your end.
Stays on Ingram. Strong move. Nothing to show for it, and here is Terrence Davis. Davis, 11 in the first half.
Nice job by Avery Johnson Jr. getting Terrence Davis under control.
Schuler. Davis. Ingram, another rebound. Boy, he is just dynamite. Attacking the rim, leads the team second in the team with 6.5 rebounds a game. That won't drop. And a foul underneath, I think, from an Offishus.
Sure, caught him holding Dante Hall, and there's Colin Sexton working him back in the basketball game. You mentioned that he was 1 of 7 in the first half, or 1 of 8. What I didn't like from Colin Sexton is he had 0 free throws in 10 minutes of play. Well, that's what you want to do. That's what he's known for doing, and that's what you want to do to get yourself back in the rhythm. Get to that charity stripe, see the basketball go through the net.
Reese, boy, he's hit a couple of threes. Now he steps inside. Really like his game, and remember, he's just a freshman.
Any NBA coach always looks for the matchups. Coach Avery likes that matchup of Reese at 6'9" versus Hyman at only 6'7". Fred Horbert used to do it when he was at Iowa State all the time. Coach Avery Johnson doing more and more as he gets comfortable at Alabama.
Schuler misfires. Hyman throws it down on the rebound. Reese, a little too strong, and a reach-in foul on Reese.
Well, Hyman heard me call him 6'7", young fella. You keep doing that, I might give you another inch. You may be 6'8", jumping up like that. And again, no box out. That's what you see typically when you have athletic players who think they can just jump up and get the rebound. You have to do a better job of putting a body on someone if you're Dante Hall.
Here's Schuler. Stevens. Stevens squares up on Hall.
Love that. The reverse pivot, inside pivot. If you're a big guy at home, that's the move that you want to work on. Facing up to your defense, they have to respect you going by. If they give you space, you knock down the mid-range jump shot.
Sexton trying to draw some contact. And there's a traveling violation. Yeah, I saw it as well. Crowd didn't like it, but Stevens kind of hopped underneath that basket. That'll be 9 turnovers for Ole Miss. And Stevens will take a break.
And you have to wonder for Colin Sexton. We don't know this. This is all speculation. But when you were leading the team and scoring 19 points a game, you have some success without you. You want to get back in and make your footprint again. I think right now he's pressing, trying to get it a little bit too quick. The world knows that he's a first-round top 10 draft pick. He has nothing to prove. He's got to let it come to him and let the game just flow like he did there.
Boy, I tell you what, that was a strong move from Dae'Zon Ingram. Here's that little pressure again from Alabama. See how Ole Miss handles it.
Slows them down, and now they just get 20 seconds to try to run their offense and get their flow.
Job by Ingram to keep Crawford from getting the basketball. Now Tyree in the lane. Tough shot right over Sexton.
Looks like Ole Miss is starting to figure it out, Dave Neal. As well as they can shoot the basketball, even though they've only shot it around 30-something% from the three-point line, and they take so many threes, they're a team that can get to the rim whenever they want. Make a team stop you first if you have the ability to get to the paint.
Reese misses, chased his shot down. Tyree takes off and he flies and gives it to Hyman, who was pushed by Johnson. A couple of free throws coming up for Mark Canvas. Hyman, the senior out of Memphis, Tennessee.
Love the push that time by Brian Tyree. Offensive pressure is just as important as defensive pressure. Look at Colin Sexton. Couldn't get back that time. Looks like he was a little winded So he's got to take his time, get back in shape. Tyree was at a different gear, and we know Colin Sexton is one of the fastest players in the country.
So Hyman at the free throw line. Just 14 of 32 this year. That's 43%. Hey, no matter what happens here, his percentage is going up. How about that? You got to feel pretty good, no? Right? This is gravy.
Oh, but so true. So true. Free throws so important. The Auburn-Georgia game, both teams shot 90%. Think about how many games you can win if you shoot 90% from the free throw line as a team.
Oh, Hyman's percentage is shot through the roof, didn't it? Sexton. Off to Ingram. Baseline contact. Olenek will be whistled for that foul. That'll get us to a timeout. Tyree showing us how to do it. Ole Miss out in front by 7.
One single day, 2 power conferences, 10 games with new stars, familiar legends, and epic matchups, all for bragging rights. The Big 12 SEC Challenge on ESPN this Saturday.
Ole Miss taking on Texas, and Alabama will host Oklahoma. A sold-out Coleman Coliseum awaiting this showdown between two of the bright young stars in college basketball. Trae Young at Oklahoma, Colin Sexton of Alabama. And there are the particulars.
Well, listen, everybody is excited about the matchup of these 2 point guards. You hope that Colin Sexton is at 100%. We know Trae Young, after coming off of 48 points, even in the loss against Oklahoma State, will put on the show. But Alabama fans need to know it's more than Trae Young. It's a Hall of Fame coach in Lon Kruger, a coach that's actually taken 5 different teams to the NCAA tournament. And you have other players. Christian James, outstanding player. Good length with Kadeem Latin and McNeese on the interior. I think a decision will have to be made by Alabama. Will you allow Trae Young to get his points and try to stop everybody else? Or will you try to stop Trae Young? I wouldn't advise that one. I don't think anyone's been able to do that, Dave.
Well, big win tonight for Oklahoma. They take down Kansas 85-80, and Young had 26 points, 9 assists. This the other night he had 30-plus shots. Tonight he was 7 of 9 from the field.
Impressive. Well, and I like that. Jay Williams talked about the fact that he thought that Trae Young needed to distribute the basketball a lot more. I think that's what Colin Sexton is going to have to do in his role on this team. While he's been out, Alabama has moved the basketball extremely well. Colin Sexton, like Avery Johnson said, needs to do what he does. He's a scoring point guard, but he can get his points anytime. So he needs to continue to concentrate on distributing the basketball and having good balance between scoring his points and getting his teammates involved. Because he can do both.
8 points for Dazon Ingram. It is a 5-point game.
We've already had a 10-second call for Ole Miss tonight. Struggling to get it across half court. Looks like they're getting more comfortable against the 2-2-1 press of the Crimson Tide.
You know, the other thing that Alabama does in that press, they got long bodies and arms.
I love it.
All over you defensively. Crawford. Olenek fouled by Key, thought he had the block.
Dominique Olenek, good minutes, good length, over 7 feet for the Ole Miss Rebels. Again, Coach Andy Kennedy setting the precedence and saying we're going to take the basketball inside. And against a smaller lineup in Alabama, I think that's the right mindset. Right now, Alabama going basically a 4-out, 1-in. Braxton Key doesn't have a lot of good size and a lot of good length on the interior. And so Coach Andy Kennedy's going at that lack of length on the inside.
Ole Miss already in the bonus. They're now 11 of 13 at the line. Dazon Ingram. Braxton Key at 16. Alabama's last outing, but Key tonight sitting on 4. Here is Braxton. Off to Jones, shot clock under 10. Off the front of the rim, and check with the rebound.
Didn't like that possession for Alabama. The ball wasn't moving. It stick with Herbert Jones. Not a bad shot, but I think they could get something better.
Crawford takes it to the rack. Crawford having a nice evening, 7 points.
We're not synergy here, but I wonder how many shots the Rebels have taken at point-blank range in the paint since that TV timeout.
Boy, no foul. A lot of bodies hitting the deck, including Sexton's. Boy, Crawford with 9. But Colin Sexton trying to draw some contact at the rim. This is what he does.
A lot of contact on that play, no doubt about it. A lot of contact, but if you're Colin Sexton, you're on the road. If you don't get the first whistle, you keep going back. You make it to where the officials have to blow the whistle because you continue to take it inside. If I'm Sexton, I go right back.
He sets a screen. Now Smith will come up and do that. That pass almost batted away. Sexton and Tyree having a scramble for it.
I like the hard hedge and trap on Colin Sexton. Veteran officiating crew, Les Jones just talking to the players, making sure he keeps everyone under control. But off of that hard hedge, you see the length of Dominique Olanichek? That length on ball screens at times can give Colin Sexton problems. It's the problems that you saw with Trae Young when he went through a stretch of games where he had 19 turnovers. Play guys like that differently off of the ball screen. Just want to make them uncomfortable. The Rebels doing a pretty good job of making Sexton uncomfortable here tonight.
Plays on Ingram with the shot clock winding down. And the horn is stuck. We'll say a tie-up. Boy, I tell you what, Alabama and Ole Miss here in the second half have turned this into a football game. They have been getting after it. Remember, these two teams opened up this building a couple of years ago. The first game in the Pavilion, Alabama came in here. They lost to the Rebels. And the shot clock horn having some issues.
Well, right now, what you're seeing is the intensity because of the importance of this basketball game. If you're Ole Miss, you've knocked off Florida at your own house. You've knocked off South Carolina. We'll see how they finish as the year goes on. And they're still having problems with this horn here at the Pavilion.
Well, while we got a second, give us a chance to tell you that tomorrow night, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, a couple of college hoops ball games coming your way. First, South Carolina squares off against 20th-ranked Florida. Then it's 19th-ranked Auburn taking on Missouri. Anxious to see how Auburn responds after that unbelievable second half against Georgia on Saturday when they went on a 31-4 run. Crazy environment over at Auburn Arena, but this will be a different test as they are on the road at Mizzou Arena Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. You can also catch those games live on the ESPN app.
Yeah, I think Coach Bruce Pearl gave not only Coach Mike Anderson, but the rest of the league and Kansas State, Bruce Weber included, the recipe. Georgia's going to get pressure for the rest of the season. Those guards will be tested. That was the reason for the turnaround, and you see they're working on the horn over there. The student section doesn't mind it. They are pumped up, back in session. And the Pavilion right now is jumping. This crowd has been crucial. What do you think about that, Ole Miss Rebels? SEC hoops are excited right now.
basket where the shot clock horn keeps inadvertently sounding, so hopefully they can get that fixed in a hurry.
Well, here's what we talked about as far as the Big 12 SEC Challenge. You talk about the Big 12 success that they have had. 3, and there was a tie last year. Big 12, 4 teams in the AP top 15, most of any conference. And the SEC with 8 teams projected by Joe Lunardi to go to the NCAA, second behind the ACC. I think it's a battle between 2 of the deeper conferences in the country, and I also feel like a bid will be lost or won by the end of this challenge. I think the SEC could have an opportunity to get more, or could possibly be as low as 7 bids if the conference didn't go well. Right now, the Big 12, I think, projected 7 bids out of 10 teams, which is thoroughly impressive. But if the SEC was to do well, that could go down to 6. The Big 12, that could go up to 8. A huge weekend for both conferences. And if I'm a basketball fan right now, I am glued to the television and watching.
I'm anxious to see TCU. They took down West Virginia last night. Great game over in Fort Worth.
Sure.
Now they're going to go on the road to Memorial Gymnasium. Always a tough place to play. I know Vandy's not having the kind of year they were hoping for, but certainly they've had some good wins and are fully capable. Matthew Fisher-Davis, who hasn't been with him for a couple of weeks because of a shoulder injury, thank you, is now done for the season, so they don't have that scoring punch. Riley LaChance went for 20+ tonight.
Well, you're right, and it's going to be exciting to look at the matchups. When you look at a team like West Virginia, a team that likes to get up and down, the guard play of Carter, stifling defense against a Kentucky team that's continuing to grow up before our eyes with the length and size. And then Texas A&M, that front line with the guard play against Kansas, who I know is going to be hungry for a win in Fog Island after losing to Oklahoma.
Well, this is always fun, isn't it? This is a good time. You and I get to hang out. Just kind of chit-chat a little bit.
Well, what's unfortunate, seriously, it's unfortunate for the players that have
I thought you could say it's unfortunate for me.
That's okay. We're getting paid to talk about basketball. We're winning. We got a dream job. But for these players, look at all the flow that you took away. So you hope for both teams they're able to get back in the flow, that they didn't get too stiff right now.
Not our flow,
ready to go.
Not our flow. Didn't take it from us. Tyree. 10 minutes to play. I have no idea if that shot clock horn will work or not. But we'll find out. Tyree. Crawford. Well, they're really trying to post up Stevens inside.
He's a problem. Now, I don't know if he's going to get that against Mobamba at Texas with that length. But right now, in this basketball game, I would go inside of Bruce Stevens' celebration of the game.
Herbert Jones.
That opened up like Highway 6. Nice job by Alabama. Poor job defensively by the Ole Miss Rebels.
Here's Burnett. He's bumped, throws it up, no whistle. There is a whistle. Finally, a little bit late. Let's see where the foul is. And that'll go against Herbert Jones. And that'll be number 4 on Herbert.
Herbert Jones, one of the more underrated players in the recruiting class, takes flight, and there's absolutely no help. Miscommunication. First line of help was Hyman on that play. Miscommunication between Tyree and DeAndre Burnett. And I like the upside of Herbert Jones. Think he's going to be critical in the game versus Oklahoma as well. His length and ability to guard.
Key with the rebound off the Hyman miss at the free throw line.
Right now, Alabama having to try to get past the Rebels on the road if they want to stay amongst the tops in this league and try to compete for an SEC championship.
Stays on Ingram. Colin Sexton. Bounce pass to Ingram. He can't handle it. Will stay with Alabama. Yeah, it's almost like they're a little bit frozen offensively right now.
Well, the hardest thing to do is to take out or implement a player on the basketball team. So the flow, the chemistry, as good as Colin Sexton is, the chemistry's changed up right now.
Ooh, what a play by Crawford, and he finishes at the other end. Petty flanks it off the side of the backboard.
Horrible shot by Petty. This is what happens, young players. Coach Cal talks about it a lot. When they face adversity, they go to what they did in the AAU and high school circuit. This young team has to stick together.
Stevens will head to the free throw line. Ole Miss back up by 10.
Like a quarterback on the football field. Crawford getting out, but you can't do that on the football field. I like that action, Crawford. Nice jam.
Ole Miss, a team that posts a 1,291 and 1,291 all-time record. Up by 10 right now over Alabama. And you see what the Rebels have coming up. We've talked about their game at Texas Saturday on ESPN2. And then it's Auburn and Tennessee. But he didn't get much tougher than that in this league.
Well, and listen, Ole Miss looks at that as opportunities. The one thing about Joe Lunardi projected 8 teams in the league. Right now, LSU up big on Texas A&M. Kentucky in the fight of their life against Mississippi State. It gives everybody a chance. And when everybody feels like they have a chance to make it to the tournament and they're capable, an LSU team that beat Michigan early in the year, that beat Houston, who just dominated Wichita State, that gives teams confidence. And so every single game in this league is going to be a challenge.
Stevens at the free throw line. Bruce, junior college transfer out of Jones County Junior College.
Sixth-ranked junior college player, first-team All-American. I talked with Coach Andy Kennedy at practice, and people said a lot of people are now starting to talk about Bruce Stevens. He said he's just doing what we expected him to do. They knew that he was capable. A lot of times it takes a half a year for guys to get in that flow. Bruce Stevens seems to be getting that flow now.
Guarded by Hyman. Splits a double team, but that won't go down, and Stevens saves it.
I don't like the offense of Alabama right now. Everyone's trying to get it off of the bounce by themselves. When the offense is flowing, it changes and reverses sides of the floor. You get multiple touches, which puts the defense at a disadvantage, and then you can attack and get open shots.
Crawford. Step back jumper, largest lead of the night.
Like an old school guy that comes up to the court, you don't think he's got game. Markel Crawford showing us some game tonight.
13 for Markel. Crawford strips it right out of Giddens' hands. Off to Davis, lays it up there. Timeout, Alabama. It is a 14-point lead with 6:39 to play.
Did we say defense was important for your offense? Look at it, stop, good hands, and now we're off to the races. We got a 3-on-2 break, unselfishness, just outrun the Tide down the floor. And the pavilion appreciates this. And this is what I'm talking about, that old school game. A little turnaround, not sure what he was doing, step back, but it falls down. And this team's chemistry, as well as these fans, all coming together in unison.
Crawford, of course, led Memphis last year averaging 13 points a game. The grad transfer this year averaging just shy of 10. Only had 2 points in their loss to Arkansas in 29 minutes, but has really picked it up with 13 today. Andy Kennedy, two-time Coach of the Year in this conference in his 12th season. Felt like this team has been close. They've had 3 overtime losses in this building this year.
Andy Kennedy, one of 5 coaches that scored 20 or more wins in 9 times of the last 11 seasons. Other 4, Billy Donovan, Tubby Smith, Nolan Richardson, and Joe B. Hall.
Dante Hall getting up and throwing it down.
You know, in the shoot-around today, Coach Andy Kennedy told his team, he said, with the bigs of Alabama, you have to worry about dunkers and duck-ins. Duck-ins when they can try to get a seal underneath the basket. Well, he was exactly right, because these bigs have been dunking and ducking in all night.
Davis, 15 for Terrence.
That's where his game needs to be. He loves that three-point shot, 34% on the year, 22% in conference. Big range and going to the basket is where he needs to get his points from.
Dante Hall.
That's so good. He's developed. You didn't see that 2 years ago.
No.
You love to see the progression and maturation of young players.
Burnett. Boy, trying to dribble out of that double team. Alley-oop, ripped out of there by Jones. Boy, Petty setting up for 3.
Nice extra pass.
Ingram.
Look at that hustle,
Jones into the seats. It'll belong to Ole Miss.
I love that. Now listen, everything that Alabama did that time, they didn't come up with the basket, but it was nice length and the pressure. They made Ole Miss uncomfortable. They made the extra pass, and look at that hustle by Herbert Jones. Not sure if that'll get them a win tonight, but over time, those are the type of game-winning plays that allow you to come out on top.
Ole Miss shooting 50% tonight. They've hit 9 of their last 11 from the field. Here's Burnett. Bumps. He'll head to the free throw line. Or he's an 82% foul shooter. And don't forget, gymnastics takes over the SEC network every Friday night. And this week, it's a couple of top 20 matchups. 11th ranked Georgia, 10th ranked Arkansas, and then how about number 6 Kentucky and 16th ranked Auburn? All coming your way Friday night with Friday Night Heights here on the SEC network, also streaming live on that ESPN app.
A lot of times we talk about the dominance in football, dominance without Alabama in gymnastics as well. Balance throughout the conference this year, packing out arenas all across the SEC. Right now, more balance has been displayed for the Ole Miss Rebels than Alabama, frankly. The bench dominating 17-7 in the first half, but in the second half, the Rebels have come back and done a much better job in their bench production.
So 1 out of 2 for Burnett, 17 tonight. Averages 14 a game. Leads Ole Miss in points and assists.
This is tough for a young player in College Sexton because he had such a flow before he went out with that injury. First of all, he's dealing mentally with wanting to know that it's not going to hurt, that he's okay. Second of all, he wants to make sure that he doesn't do too much. He wants to be in the flow of the offense, but he wants to make sure that he does what he's capable of doing as well.
Woo! Speaking of capable, Dante Hall is very capable.
He's just that.
There's a double team, and Ole Miss will get it to Crawford.
Nice job, Sexton, having Reese get away to get matched up with Burnett.
Shot clock at 3. Crawford off the the rim. Herbert Jones with a good rebound.
Outstanding defensive trip that time by the Tide.
Reese for three, no good. Dante Hall. Jones will back it out. Well, Dante Hall has been giving him some great minutes here in the second half. Dante fouls. He has scored Alabama's last 6.
Woo. Impressive. Not only has he scored their last 6, he's giving them some good minutes. But guess what else, Dave? He's giving the Rebels the business, too. Take that, Bruce Stevens.
Ole Miss leading by 11. Getting late here at the Pavilion, 3:40 to go. Between this old-fashioned SEC rivalry, the 178th meeting between these two clubs. You look at the standings, and Alabama right there in the thick of things. Of course, Florida and Auburn will play tomorrow night. Alabama trying to hang in there, but they're running out of time tonight. Tennessee, 5-3, playing some great basketball. What do you make of the standings at this point? Can we tell a whole lot right now?
I don't think so. I think we can tell that there are a couple teams that are really going to be there, and they've made a statement early. Alabama's one of them, especially if they can win this game. I think you look at Auburn, you look at Florida. Those are teams that we know what we're going to get from. Also, Tennessee quietly continuing to take care of business. Some of the questions is Kentucky because of their youth.
Right. Are
they going to be the Kentucky of old? I have no doubt because of the staff, because of what Coach Cal has done year in and year out, that in the end, Wildcats will be there.
Dante Hall. Dante Hall at the free throw line this year, 62%. 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 15 minutes of work. This is down when Ingram keeps it alive.
Winning plays.
Sexton off the back of the rim. And Alabama will have another opportunity. Well, Sexton just not feeling his shot. 1 of 10 tonight. How about taking it inside?
He's feeling that. That's the Colin Sexton that we're used to. And look at the pressure change now. How about this? Chess moves made all across the board by both staffs right now. So instead of the 2-2-1 pressure, a little man-to-man pressure, not only to get the basketball in, but after the basketball came in a little bit.
Stevens, offensive foul. You can see him lower the shoulder, extend the arm. Dante Hall draws the charge.
Well, let's take a look. Yeah, just tries to run straight through Dante Hall. He does a nice job. He doesn't fall, but I think it's the correct call. If you're Bruce Stevens, you have to learn to either go around or shoot the nice soft jump shot over. You can't go through your defender. Nice job by Dante Hall defensively.
Sexton, that won't go. Tapped around, taken by Hyman.
Well, if you have watched Colin Sexton all year, this is not the Colin Sexton that we're accustomed to seeing coming back from the abdominal injury. Looks a little rusty. Looks like he needs to get his conditioning back. And I think it's cost Alabama. They'll have to continue to work him back in the lineup, and he'll have to get it back himself as they start to run out of time here on the road.
Tyree slips and trips over Herbert Jones. And that'll be number 5 on Herbert.
I didn't see much of anything there.
It's almost like Tyree was going so fast he fell on his own.
That's
right?
exactly what it looked like. Let's see if we can get a look at that again. Yeah, and if it was any trip, it was Avery Jr.
Right.
Or Avery Johnson Jr. So they missed that call.
And Herbert will sit with 7 points, a couple of rebounds, and Reese about to check back in for Alabama. Tyree at the line.
Crucial foul down the stretch. not only with the versatility of Herbert Jones, you see he had 7 points, but his ability to get steals with his length, rebounding, athleticism. The good news for Alabama is that they do have quality depth on this basketball team.
Got them both. Back to a 10-point game. Ole Miss is led by as many as 14. Ingram trying to post up Tyree. Reese just lost it. That's the kind of half that's been proud of that.
Look young. Alabama's looked extremely young tonight. And this time, Dejon Ingram had the right mindset, but give credit to Terrence Davis. You know, young people forget about it so often, but just keeping your hands out defensively makes it more challenging for everything with the offense. Harder to pass, harder to get shots.
Davis. Now it's a 3-on-1. Petty gets back, but not before Crawford lays it up and in. Offense in the second half just hasn't been there for the Tide.
Well, turnovers have been a huge problem for the Crimson Tide, and with youth typically comes turnovers, especially on the road. And this has been a difficult night for a very young team. However, this Ole Miss Rebel team, undefeated in conference play, it's going to be a tough out here at the Pavilion.
Burnett in traffic. Here's Sexton. Up ahead to Petty. Alley-oop to Ingram, and he is fouled by Crawford. Don't forget, coming up after our game, it's SEC Now. Dari and Jimmy Dykes is going to break it down. A lot of activity in SEC hoops tonight. We'll look back at all those games. It's coming up right here on the SEC Network and, of course, streaming live on the ESPN app. It's SEC Now right after our game here.
Keywords being breaking it down. Dari Noka, one of the best in the business, and Jimmy Dykes in studio tonight breaks basketball down like no other.
Dejon Ingram.
Jimmy Dykes will probably know how many times Ole Miss touched the paint.
Oh, yeah.
Where the turnovers were at for Alabama. Now let's remember, in this Vanderbilt game, though, that we did, the Crimson Tide able to make a run of late, but much better backcourt or veteran play for the Rebels. Don't expect them to turn it over the same, and they shoot 76 from the free throw line.
Braxton Key picks up his third foul.
And this is a nice job of Terrence Davis, a veteran, strong with the basketball and then unselfish. 3-on-1 break, the exact pass at the exact right time.
Burnett with 18. Coming off 15 against Arkansas. His 15th game in double figures. Tell you what, last 3 road games, he has really struggled. 3 of 15 from behind the arc. But you count tonight his last 4 home games. He is now 12 of 19 shooting the three-pointer.
Well, they will need his presence on the road at Texas. Scott Roach, they don't have Andrew Jones in Texas right now. Prayers go out to his family, but Scott Roach is lethal at home, averaging about 17 points a game at home versus only 6 on the road. Well, they're screaming Chick-fil-A because if they miss both free throws, the crowd actually gets Chick-fil-A.
I might start cheering. With Colin Sexton at the line, he's hit 51 of his last 56 at the line. It's a 90% clip. Second in the conference in free throws attempted and made. But those are the first free throw. That is the first free throw of the night for Colin Sexton.
Well, these fans are hollering overrated. Colin Sexton coming back off of that injury. They need to continue watching because obviously they hadn't seen Colin Sexton for most of this season.
And they can do that. It's the only scheduled meeting this year between Alabama and Ole Miss. So there won't be payback unless it's in the SEC tournament.
Well, I remember there was a game that we did here. I think it was the opening game at the Pavilion, and they screamed just like football. And
yeah, I remember
that didn't work out too well. So just want to be cognizant of what you say. Love the support, though. If I'm a Rebel fan, that's what you want.
Well, Alabama will take off and head to Austin, Texas. Or, excuse me, Alabama will host Oklahoma. Ole Miss will head off to Texas. Then it's Missouri. And then at Florida on February 3rd.
Not an easy game on that slate.
Crawford with a rebound. Could put a fork in this one. 75-63 right now. Ole Miss did not score in the first half. They had almost an 8-minute drought, and Alabama went on an 18-0 run, but they overcame that and answered it with a 14-0 run of their own, and they really never looked back.
Well, and give a lot of credit. They did that without that man being extremely hot in the second half. 16 in the first half.
And he's got 24 for the game. Key. He'll answer with his own three, but Burnett with a season-high 24 for the Rebels.
Scored 6 of that 8 late. Alabama can take a lot of positive from this game, but for the Ole Miss Rebels, they're still in the mix.
Ole Miss will go to 4-4 conference play, 11-9 overall. Alabama 4-game winning streak is snapped. They will go to 5-3 in conference play, 13-7 overall. Ole Miss wins it by a dozen. Burnett leads the way with 24 as the Rebels shoot 50% from the field. Good night at the Pavilion for the home folks. Coming up next, it's SEC Now. Let's get you there. Dari, take it away.